Okay, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. We are from group 15. Today we will present about project-based learning. And the next slide will be explained by Indah Prahastini.
Okay, thank you, Mbak Nurma. The theory of the project-based learning. Project-based learning, or PBL, refers to an approach to instruction that teaches curriculum concept through a project, espousing principle of learner-centered teaching, learner autonomy, collaborative learning, and learning through tasks. This paper justifies the implementation of PBL to design to main projects and their activities in creative writing and second language acquisition classes at the English Language Education Program of Dunia University Indonesia. In project-based learning, all learning activities are anchored to a large project or problem. Project-based learning is closely related to problem-based learning, where learning is driven by challenging open-ended problems, and the two terms are occasionally used interchangeably. Both concepts are based upon constructivist model of human cognition. In project-based learning, all learning activities are anchored to large problems or problem. Okay. The principle and characteristic of the project-based learning. 1. Purposeful and authentic experiences. Effective PBL requires purposeful and authentic experiences generated by students engaging in relevant questions. The main question should drive a unit of study, and the question should be feasible to consider, worthwhile, contextualized, meaningful, and ethical. This question should be related to student life, the communities in which young people reside, and real-world issues happening outside the classroom. For example, project might address questions such as how to design a new park that supports local plant life with affordable housing or solve a public health problem. Projects should be coherently sequenced and use tools, practices, and standards related upon in real-world setting. 2. Deep integration with course content. Meaningful and supportive relationships matters in education generally and definitely with project-based learning. School with a strong culture of collaboration that reward risk-taking, view mistakes as learning opportunities, and emphasize students' goals and emotional learning skills foster rich PBL environment. 3. Meaningful and supportive relationship. Project should feature deep integration with course content and be rooted in core subject area, helping to deepen and build student knowledge of important topics. Quality PBL benefit from collaborative peer-to-peer interaction and trusting student-teacher relationship. 4. Evidence-based teaching and assessment practice. Learning from research and relying on evidence about what work is essential. This report looks at PBL-related studies and highlight evidence-based teaching and assessment practice that can have a positive effect on student outcomes. Some of these practices include providing feedback to students in a strategic and timely manner, creating opportunities for reflection, and empowering students to share their learning with others. There is still too much to learn, but research has led a lot of information about the practice that benefit PBL instruction. Next. The strength and limitation of the project-based learning. The advantage of the implementation of PBL. 1. PBL increases students' learning motivation. When teachers successfully implement PBL, students can be highly motivated, feel actively involved in their learning, and produce complex, high-quality work. Argue that increase in student learning motivation will boost student ability to do important work, and they the first to be appreciated. 2. PBL increases student academic achievement. With PBL, students get knowledge including insight and metacognition, skills, and attitudes. Students create texts or problems which are more concrete and arrange potential solutions by using theoretical and practical knowledge. PBL provides productive environment for the development of metacognition. 3. PBL increases the ability to communicate. With PBL, students learn how to research as presented by Yelchin et al. 2009, how to organize a team, and how to communicate. It is also important when students learn to articulate their thoughts. They learn how to explain and how to convince. Next. 4. PBL increases students' creativity. PBL develops the habit of lifelong learning. PBL meets the student needs with different levels of skills and learning styles. According to Zhu, 2012, PBL is one example of a curriculum that prepares students by helping them to acquire the skills necessary to exercise their creativity. And the last, PBL creates a fun learning. PBL makes learning a fun atmosphere so that students and teachers enjoy the learning process. Stated that during the project work, PBL created a different teaching environment by getting students out of the boring routine in the classroom. Okay, now for me, back to moderator, Mbak Nurma.
Okay, thank you, Indah, for the explanation. And the next slide will be explained by Sofian Bima. Time is yours.
Okay, thank you very much, moderator. And I am okay for this advantage encountered in the implementation of PBL. The first is project basic learning requires a lot of time that must be provided to solve solve complex problem. This will lead to a lack of time available for the material or content. The second, many parents or students feel aggrieved because it adds to the cost of entering the new system. And then the amount of equipment to be provided, so that the demand for electricity increases. And then many instructor or instructor or teacher feel comfortable in a traditional classroom where the instructor or teacher plays a central role in the class. This is a difficult transition, especially for instructor or teacher who have little or no control over the technology. And finally, applying project-based learning in the classroom may be intimidation for some experienced teacher and will be even worse from beginner. Actually, many disadvantage in the real action, but this is the general disadvantage. Usually, usually feeling the teacher or uh, instructor. And then next slide. Okay, the step and mechanism of the project-based learning. For the step and mechanism project-based learning, the starting with a question. maybe uh, the similar for the learning and the general learning. Starting with a question, the question must contain problem that must be solved and compatible with the real world. So it can encourage the student to investigate deeper. Uh, Two, designing a plan for the project. The teacher and the student collaboration design this plan. It includes the role of the uh, game, the selection of activities, the tools, and the materials, and then compiling the schedule activity. Both teacher and student must compile this schedule activity, and then observing the project process. Even though the students are free to determine the strategies and the techniques of the project, the teacher still has the responsibility for always monitoring the student. So the big responsibility of teacher, giving score and then giving score uh, or evaluate to the product. Teacher assessment is very influential and measure students achievement standards. The finally is doing evaluation. This is the important steps because this is for uh, uh, the teacher now this still knowledge from the student. At the end of project-based learning, the teacher and the student reflect on the project that has been done and product that are produced. It can be done individual or by a group, less but not less. Okay, next slide. In the strategies and techniques apply in the project-based learning. These map standards to the project challenge. High quality, authentic project design is about helping our student learning by experiencing real challenging and saying their creative, relevant solution come to life in the project they construct. This is if you want ownership and buy in, even if the youngest of thinkings, we need the creativity to start at uh, at the at the onset of the student project on the first or second day. And two, build and classroom community. Uh, Authentic learning experience permeate the day and the classroom involving many different curricular areas and skills. So this is uh, important strategies because we need building build build our classroom for the learning and the treat make reading and writing authentic. We want our kids to love reading. We want them to be fluent enough to comprehend everything they read. Level of literacy achievement set the stake for success of transit throughout life. And for mechanism formative assessment. An authentic challenge is derived from our standards and their connection to the real world. This strategy allows us to connect our learners with knowledge to their impact on their present world. And then uh, active intrinsic motivation to achieve intrinsic motivation. Ultimately, no matter what the activity, there is something deep inside of us that pushes us to try just a little harder, work just a little longer, and create just a little more. And okay, next slide.
Okay, thank you, Sofian Bima, for the explanation. And the next slide, I will explain it. How the project-based learning is applied in teaching language skills and components. Actually, this slide similar with or still related to the steps and mechanism of the project-based learning. And there are 4 steps here. For the first step is speculation. The first is speculation. According to Bell, in 2010, speculation in which the teachers provide the choice of project topics initially based on the curriculum and discuss them with the students. And the second step is designing the project activities, referring to organizing the structure of a project activity that includes group formation, role assigning, methodology decision, and information source. And the third step is conducting. The third is conducting the project activities in which the students work on what had been planned and designed in the previous stage. And the last step is the evaluation. Evaluation referring to the assessment of activities from the participants and discussion about whether the initial aims and goals have been achieved, implementation of the process and final products. So we can conclude that project-based learning refers to an approach or the teaching method which students gain the knowledge and skills by working for an extended time to investigate and respond some questions, problems, and challenges. And project-based learning has some principles and characteristics. There are purposeful and authentic experiences, deep integration with course content, meaningful and supportive relationships, evidence-based teaching, and assessment practice. And project-based learning also has its advantages and disadvantages of the project-based learning implementation. And it has 6 steps and mechanisms that can be applied. Project-based learning also uses 5 teaching strategies, and it must be using some stages for continuous learning activities. Okay, I think that's all. Thank you for your attention. Sorry if there are many mistakes. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam.